Hello, and thank you for joining us in this live interview with Dr. Debbie Jones, who is the Superintendent of Bentonville Schools. A little background, I'm Dana Schlagenhaft. I'm the Communications Director at Downtown Bentonville, Inc. We are broadcasting this on Downtown Bentonville's Facebook page and YouTube page, and this interview was requested by you, the parents in our community, and many of our followers. And we are always willing to offer our social media reach to host important community conversations, and this is one of them. We saw it last night in the Bentonville Schools school board meeting, and we want to have a little discussion today with Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones, we're in a different position this year compared to the last time you and I did this live interview, but we have a lot of those same feelings. We have anxiety, we have uncertainty. Let's talk a little bit about that, and I wanted to thank you for joining us here today.
Hi, Dana, and hi to all my DBI friends. We are in a little bit different position this year, but we're focusing on the great thing, which is we get to open the doors and welcome back students on Monday. And so we're super excited about that. We are, again, dealing with the pandemic. And so we do have a safe schools plan in place with some mitigation factors. And just to be really specific, last night our school board did approve a face mask requirement for all students 3 years of age and older. And we know that this can be done, and it can be done successfully because we did it last year. And those who were in person last year continued to meet their growth academically and really just had a great year. You know, I had the opportunity to visit some schools last year, and I would see the little kindergartners and the first graders jumping around in the hall, and very little distraction by the face mask for them. So I think it's sometimes harder on adults than it is students. Some of the other things that we'll be doing in schools, first of all, we know the three things that really prevent transmission the most, and that's vaccination, number one, face mask worn properly, number two, and distancing. And so we are still trying to distance the best we can. The one thing about the face mask this year, we're not requiring that outside. We had Dr. Tomlinson from the Department of Health speak with us last night, and he really supported that measure as well. Students, it's hot in Arkansas, and the fresh air, it's less likely to spread outside. And so really, the more you can do, the better. Layer on protections like vaccination, face mask, distance, and all that. But kids need to play outside, run around, and not have to breathe through a mask. And also, when they are distanced 6 feet apart, they can move their face mask down. We will continue to distance them in the lunchroom. In the classrooms, honestly, about the best we can do, and this was last year's too, as well, is 3 feet apart. And so that's recommended by CDC and the Pediatric Association, because they recognize we don't have 6 feet to spread kids out in the classroom. So what's most important, and we know this, is that they're in school with their friends, with their teachers, they're on a routine, and they're learning. And so we will be able to accomplish those things.
I want to just step in for a second and backtrack. For anyone that didn't get a chance to watch the 4-hour-long school board meeting last night, there was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of impassioned pleas from parents on both sides of the issue. We had, the pro-mask and the anti-mask parents, and it was a lengthy discussion. That mask mandate passed with a vote of 5-2. Like you said, that's all students preschool to 12th grade. We want to talk also just real quickly, the staff. They will be voting, the school board voted to basically pass this on to the staff, and they will have 10 days to vote, correct, on potentially a staff mask mandate as well.
That's correct. That's the law, because after May 1, all the staff begins a new contract, and you cannot make revisions. We're not in an emergency order like we were last year, and so we can't just change their contract and add new requirements. It requires that all the staff, both certified and classified, vote. Now, I feel pretty good about the staff knowing that they're probably going to pass that with the majority. and with a majority, then that will be active on August 26th. Now, we're really requesting that all of our staff, when they're indoors, wear masks now. We're encouraging that. And so I see a lot of mask usage at all of our schools right now, not outdoors. And I want to be clear, you're going to see teachers outdoors not wearing a mask either, and that's perfectly fine. Like the students, we want them to be outdoors without masks. We really don't want them in large community groups without masks, but outdoors is fine.
Can you provide a little look at the process leading up to that school board meeting? You provided the recommendation to the school board. They tweaked it a bit, but let us know your thought process and who you spoke to leading up to that school board meeting.
Okay. I bet the public's completely astounded at why are we waiting until the week before school starts to require a face mask? Well, it's been a long process. As you know, this legislature, when they were in session, passed Act 1002, which said districts, they're public entities, and you cannot require a face mask. The governor started seeing the cases surge. He called the legislature back in session. They met, and a bill was introduced to modify that to give local control back to school districts. The legislature did not modify the law. Shortly after that, last week, a court case, actually 2 court cases were filed. They were combined. They went in front of Judge Fox in Little Rock, and he issued a stay so that the law cannot be in effect at this time. Now, it's a temporary injunction, so it may be 30 days, it may be 60 days, and it may last until it's appealed, it's in effect, which means now the board has the freedom to make their own policy. And that's what we did last night. I made the recommendation. Within that recommendation, we wrote out the policy, which is what I just shared with you. And it also has within that policy when it's okay to remove your mask. But an important part is we don't want staff or students wearing masks any longer than they need to. So I certainly would not look at this as a year-long policy. It's not our intention. We're going to have to learn to live wisely with this. And just like we did this summer before we had surges, we took our face mask off and we lived freely. If we get to that point where cases drop and it's under control again, then we hope they will come out. And so within the policy itself, we have passed that the board will reassess the policy every board meeting, every 30 days. They'll look at multiple pieces of data. They'll look at cases in the school, in the county. They'll look at availability of vaccinations. They'll look at the vaccination rate of our students that are currently eligible for that, or those within the county, and then make a determination on whether to renew that policy to require a face mask again the next 30 days.
And that next meeting is September 21st that they'll address. Sorry, I put you on the spot on the date there. I know they mentioned that the next meeting is September 21st. We can clarify that and put it in the comment below. But I know there was some importance and some comments on having that exit ramp and being able to assess the numbers and decide in increments rather than creating a full year mandate. So I want to ask you, we heard a vocal group of parents that were against masks last night, and there are going to be children that come from households that are not supportive of the mask mandate. So I want to talk about how you're going to handle compliance in a way that offers sensitivity and respect to those parents who wanted to make that decision for their children. You know, they're very opinionated. They were very loud last night, and they want to make that decision. So how do you handle compliance as you enter back in the school year?
Okay, so we have options. We really have school choice within Arkansas. And so a policy within the district as it is now will be enforced. And that means the expectation is that families will send their students in masks. If they do not, masks will be happily provided for them. If And honestly, my best advice for this is for families. Our kids will come with the attitude, if it's positive, they'll come to school with a positive attitude. If we're upset about it and saying we hate these masks, none of us enjoy wearing the mask, then that's going to be mirrored in our students as well. And so there are exceptions. I'll say that there are few exceptions. Those exceptions require documentation. And so, for example, if there is a medical exemption, that would require a doctor's note to be provided to this at the school level. If there are students that have special IEP plans or 504 plans, it's not just given an exception, but you'll meet with your IEP team or your 504 team, or you'll have a discussion at the school level, and they talk about what restrictions that student experiences and if that warrants a face mask. So it's a process. We have to do that to really protect the safety of all students, because universal face mask wearing is what will limit the spread, not voluntary having a portion of the students or staff wearing the face coverings. And so it is a policy. If it's just something, and I certainly respect that, if parents just say, my kid's not going to wear a mask, then our virtual school at this time is full. And actually, we have far fewer participating in virtual school than we did last year. Most of them came back because they understand there is no substitute for in-person learning. But it is full. And so there is a homeschool option that's available, and parents can sign up for that at any point.
How do you encourage, this kind of plays off your last comment, but how do you encourage parents to talk to their kids, and all parents, not just the ones that are not wanting children with masks in school?
Yeah.
How do you want them to talk to them?
Most parents are already pros at this because they did it so beautifully last year. At this moment, we have a whole 9th grade class at BHS participating in their kind of welcome back orientation. And I've had calls from there. All kids are wearing masks. They're happy. They're participating. So really, most families completely have this down. For those that see it as a struggle, I encourage buying the cute face masks, buying the ones that kids pick out, give them choice. Start going to the store with that and starting small portions at a time, not making it a major deal. It's not like, okay, today we're going to practice face mask wearing, because it just make it like another thing. Like, it's time to put shoes on, shoes and socks on. It's time to put your face mask. Let's get it. And then carry backups in the car. I carry on my blinker, so I always have backups. It's just, it's a temporary solution, but it's necessary. It's necessary to keep us all safe, just like wearing a seatbelt.
There was some confusion. I watched the board meeting last night about what triggers the need to quarantine. And that confusion, I was a little confused. So I would love for you to clarify that as well and make sure that we all understand that policy.
Absolutely. And remember, this requirement, it is not guidance. It's a requirement from the Department of Health.
Okay.
And I'll give you just some really clear bullet points. If a student or staff is positive, then they are isolated at home. Okay. If all are wearing masks, both the infected person that's positive and the other person who would be a probable close contact. And remember, a probable close contact is an individual that's been within 6 feet for a cumulative 15 minutes or more. That's a probable close contact. If both of those were wearing masks, then only the infected person's going home. The one that was exposed is not going to be quarantined because they were both wearing masks. If you are vaccinated, mask or no mask, then you are not going to be quarantined at home. Does that answer the question?
It does. It does. Now, I did want to open this up to parent questions as well. We had a lot of parents submit questions. So I'm going to ask you a few of these questions as well. Erica wanted to know, when will we see a reconsideration for allowing therapy as an excused medical absence?
We actually have therapies within the schools. We have, as if it's part of their IEP plan, if it's part of their plan within the school, it is school provided. Those are scheduled within the school day. When families get additional therapies outside of those have to be scheduled outside the school day, because we start running into a number of absences when they're checked out early. And so that the policy on that, the practice on that's not going to change.
Okay. Meredith wanted to know, how will I find out if my child's teacher has been vaccinated and if they plan to wear a mask in the classroom? I'll ask that. She has a secondary question we'll go to after this.
Because we do not have the authority to ask a staff member if they're vaccinated. We don't have the authority to document that. Then we don't have the answer to that. Now, we have hosted 17 vaccination clinics in our schools. And from the time we first hosted those, we have kept up with this. We opened it up just for our staff to begin with. And we've had a large number. And early on, after the initial vaccinations, we were at 75% of our staff. And so I suspect it's gone up considerably since that. But we won't have that answer. And staff are not required to share that private information with parents as well. Now, masking, I'm hopeful that you'll see all staff wearing masking while indoors. And so I hope that that's not a consideration.
Yep. Her second question was, what's the recourse if a teacher is not wearing a mask in school? That's not really something we'll know until the 26th or really the 25th at the end of the day. So we'll hold on to that question and we'll circle back in a little while. Okay. Here, this question is from Jody. From a parent with a child in school, if masks are mandated, is there a right or wrong kind of mask? I know a lot of the boys, I have a little boy, they like to wear the gator neck masks. She's asking cotton, mesh, gator masks, and will my child be in trouble for wearing the wrong kind of mask?
No, we'll encourage the correct mask usage. Gators, just like they're not allowed on airlines, they're not allowed because they don't have the layers of protection. Those are absolutely not encouraged at all. And so any type of, now I'll tell you some that I wear all the time. This type of mask, it's a paper mask. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to breathe out of. It's appropriate, but it's similar to the little medical paper mask that you see, but I found this is my favorite. I know a lot of people wear a different cloth mask, but those are appropriate face masks. I would not encourage to invest in the gators.
Okay.
The Department of Health really does not encourage that at all.
Okay. Is there anything they should be looking for in a mask? Different layers, filters, anything like that?
I'm no expert on that, but the CDC does have information on that. I can tell you just from observing the ones, it is multi-layer, it's cloth, even the handmade ones hold out a lot of the particles. The most important thing is a good fit, a good comfortable fit for kids, one that doesn't hurt their ears or one that's not too loose, and just try many until you find the right thing for your child.
We saw a lot of passionate parents last night. Do you have any final message to all parents in the district and their kids as you're about to enter into a new school year?
I do. I believe that every parent absolutely has the right to raise their children. They're the authority in their home. The district has a responsibility to do the best we can to provide the safest environment we can for families. And that's what we're doing with these actions. And so, the one message that I think we need to keep saying is part of our Choose Love movement. We may disagree on the appropriate steps or choices, but we all need to be kind to each other because our kids are watching the way that we behave with everyone, and they're modeling that behavior. And so just always professional. This is what we ask of all of our staff, and this is what we teach our kids. And it's so important for our community. Disagree, that's fine, but let's love, let's be kind, let's be professional to everyone.
So if anyone wants to get a look at all of the guidance for the new school year, it's called your Safe School Continuation Plan. Can you tell them where to find that?
Yes, that's on our district website. You'll see that on the main page. All the other important information is there. For example, school start times. Make sure if you have transportation, you know where your bus stop is, you know the start time. The open house dates are posted there. So just go look at your school. We want parents back. We want to get them in schools as quickly as we can, and we'll do that with the open house. We'll do it safely. We are having a limitation on lunches right now, some guests within the building, just temporarily until this surge decreases. And so we'll get them full-fledged back in as quickly as we can.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Jones, for joining us. I will put a link to the Safe School Continuation Plan right after we wrap up this interview. Feel free to share this video with your friends on Facebook. I'll post this on our website as well, downtownbentonville.org. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Jones, and having
Thank you, Dana.
a start to the school year.
Thanks.